like nostalgic
Movie review.
Nerdy.
Married man.
Well, hello, everybody.
Welcome back to New and Nostalgic. I am David.
And I'm Steven.
And today we are looking at John Wick, Chapter 4.
Yes, this movie came out this year, 2023. It's rated R. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes long. And the synopsis of this movie is John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against the new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes.
And this movie, of course, stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Lance Reddick, Clancy Brown, Ian McShane, Bill Skarsgård, and Donnie Yen. And there's, of course, many, many more.
Yes, I also bring up Rina Sawama. There's actually like a fun story with the way she was cast. She was Akira. It was really funny because the director and the casting director were sitting together one time, and they were trying to figure out like what kind of person they wanted for this role. And they're like, I kind of want like a Japanese hip hop artist or a Japanese pop artist. And they actually YouTube searched Japanese pop artist. And they found this girl, and they loved the way that her hair looked and stuff. And they thought that her look would be perfect for the movie. And so they actually the next day asked her to do a Zoom call. And they're like, hey, do you want to be in a John Wick 4 movie?
Nice.
And she actually did a song for the soundtrack too. I think it's called Eye to Eye. But one of the things that was really cool, kind of a flashback to our first episode, she actually competed on Eurovision.
Oh, that's cool.
Lance Reddick, this was his final performance ever. He died a week before the release of this movie. And rest in peace, Lance Reddick. But we are going to see him one more time. He did already have shot some scenes for the Ballerina, the spinoff with Ana de Armas.
This movie is just all around. It's an enjoyable, kick-ass action movie. It's so fun and well shot.
This might even be the best of the series, which is saying something, but this entire series is so solid. Like, holy crap.
100%. I mean, this movie, I mean, it's basically a 2 hour and 50-minute action scene, but it's really good.
It never felt long at all. It was just so full of action and so full of over the top, just pounding music. And the synthetic rock music that they played throughout this movie was so perfect. And yeah, just a lot of even like the video game inspired scenes in this movie are just incredible. Just everything about this, and Donnie Yen playing a blind assassin. You can't get any better than that. Bill Skarsgård performs as amazing as he always does. He's one of those actors that I feel is very underrated too, because he's amazing in everything he's in. I haven't seen a bad Bill Skarsgård performance ever.
Yeah, and this he does really good. Like he has like this mixture of fashion and like flair to his character, and he plays it so well. And then like you said, Donnie, and I don't know, he's really good at playing that blind kung fu fighter guy.
He did play the blind guy in Rogue One.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, and of course, Keanu, I personally think he is the only one out there that can actually keep this franchise alive. And the only one that can be the character of John Wick. There's no one else alive that can do it. Yeah. It's Keanu's character.
Honestly, more and more nowadays, I think of him more as John Wick than I even do Neo, which is crazy to think about because, I mean, the Matrix movies were so amazing to me, but then after like the fourth one just was really just not what it needed to be. Having him do this well with this franchise is just so amazing, and I love that because of how good the John Wick movies are, we're actually also getting a Constantine too. Yeah,
which, I mean, he's basically going to be John Wick Constantine. So
yep. I'm like, yes, just yes. Which I am kind of glad they are gonna do more of this series too. Like I heard we're getting Ana de Armas is gonna be the ballerina. It's gonna be a spin-off series. We're getting a TV series called The Continental about how the Continental actually got started, that hotel. And then we're also getting a prequel movie with Norman Reedus as the lead. And Keanu is going to appear in that one.
That all sounds like well and good and stuff, but it's exciting hearing about spin-offs and continuations and stuff, but I just there's only so much they can do before they just start dragging the franchise through the mud.
I agree.
Like I hope all of this stuff that comes after it are really good, but it's just, kind of worrisome when franchises go on too long.
Well, I mean, it's kind of even. I feel in the same way with like Marvel stuff and how much they're slugging all that out with all the different TV series and stuff. Like even seeing the trailer for Secret Invasion, I got really excited at first, and then I realized it was a series, and I was like, I just want it to be a movie. Like,
well, it's just like in situations like that and John Wick, you gotta focus on quality over quantity.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there are companies out there that are focusing on quantity instead. So
mainly Disney.
but yeah, John Wick, this movie has such a great momentum to it, and like it never feels sluggish. Everything keeps being pushed forward. Even at the almost 3 hour runtime, it has decent pacing. I don't remember at any time of the movie, I kind of judge a movie at, how many times I look at my watch or if I just feel bored. I don't remember at any point feeling that way during this movie. It just edge of your seat the whole time.
Oh, agreed. Like seriously, like the entirety of this movie, I was sitting there just like, oh crap, oh shit, oh my god, what is going on? Just like enthralled with the amount of action there was and the high octaneness of it all, and just the brutal stunts that they do in these movies. It's unmatched by any other movie. The choreography of the fight scenes in these movies are some of the best choreography we've seen in any fight scenes in any movies ever made. It is incredible and is the thing I value the most in these movies.
Well, and something I was surprised by, where this movie, it's the fourth in the franchise, and it's that whole, you don't want things to feel stale. So every time there's a sequel, you've got to make things bigger, better, badder. And like, I remember when I saw the second movie, it felt like a little more of the same, but a little bit different. But this movie topped my expectations, because I was like, oh, it's just going to be another John Wick movie. But they really went all out, and it's not just more of the same. Some of it feels familiar enough, but then they also, go that extra step and just make things more exciting.
Yeah.
With the action, the dialogue, the storytelling, and even the camera angles and just the way the movie is shot. It's just so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, you're talking about like the things that were shot at the beginning of the movie when they're at the desert. All of that desert scene was not digitally enhanced. That was all just camera work. That was no extra effects at all throughout that entire desert scene. I'm like, what? That was just natural? Like, that's even more impressive.
That's cool. That's cool. Like no CG upscaling or anything. Or...
They shot that same. They shot all the desert scenes in the same spot where they filmed Lawrence of Arabia, actually.
Wow, interesting.
In Jordan, and actually the King of Jordan actually lent the director a helicopter so he could get all of his aerial shots of the desert. He actually let him borrow a Black Hawk helicopter to fly around. I'm like, the King of Jordan even's like, yeah, use this for the movie, please.
That's insane and dedication. I mean, they probably could have gotten the same shots with a drone, but the fact they went that extra mile to get a helicopter, like, wow. But I guess moving on to the characters, no character feels kind of stale or unneeded. I felt like every character introduced was interesting and engaging. It's just really cool how everything went. And
oh yeah, like the new characters we got in this, like, yeah, obviously we got Donnie Yen was fantastic in this. Shamir Anderson, I if I said his name wrong, I'm so sorry, but he played the tracker in the movie, guy with the dog, and oh my god, that was amazing. Like, I loved his character, and I love the things that they did with his character. We'll get more into that in the spoilers. I loved getting more information on Shimazu and his clan with all the Japanese samurais and stuff like that. Like, that was such a cool, and seeing that hotel.
Well, you're talking about all these side characters, and I know you mentioned that ballerina spinoff. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a spinoff with Kane or the Tracker either.
Seriously,
Like Donnie Yen's character, I'd watch any movie with Donnie Yen in it though. Like
true.
he's just a joy to watch.
Well, except for Mulan, we can forget about him in the live action Mulan.
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad in it, but that movie was terrible. That's the only movie I've seen of him that I don't like.
I guess going back to the action, I love how this movie starts out at the level of action that the third movie ended
Yeah.
with, like that high octane, like it's at that level, and then it just gets higher than that, and you just don't expect that to happen, but it's just so high octane, just all over the
So I know we've
place.
kind of already been gushing about the movie, but for me, this movie is 100% definitely worth buying. This is go watch it in theaters if you haven't watched it yet. It's still in theaters. If you liked any of the other John Wick movies, you're going to love this one. Just go ahead and buy it. Like you will not be sorry that you own this movie.
Yeah, I also rate this very highly. If you haven't seen any of the John Wicks, I highly recommend watching all of them. But this movie's definitely worth an own in my
Yeah.
book. Really well done.
And I think you can watch it without seeing the other ones. You just won't have as much as the background information on like what the Continental is, what are the rules of the assassin, why he's doing the things that he's done. So I think you do kind of need to watch the franchise, but if you did go into this completely blind, I think you would still enjoy the movie. But I think it's definitely worth watching the entire franchise for.
Definitely. So I guess before we move on to spoiler territory,
Yes.
what do we got next week?
We have Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. So that movie has Andy Samberg in it. It'll be really fun. Check it out.
Yep, it's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original.
Ooh. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. And I guess with that, on to the spoilers.
So like we said before, this movie starts out John Wick traveling through the desert. He's on horseback riding and he's shooting off a bunch of people chasing him down, and he makes it to, I think it was the person who actually cut off his finger in the third movie.
Was it him, or it might have been the guy that took over for the dude that cut off?
Oh yeah, it was the dude who took over for him. You're right, because he even mentioned that like I'm not that same person, but and killing me won't do anything or whatever.
They said they'll just find him another replacement.
Yeah, exactly. Just shoots him too. John Wick at this point is trying to, obviously, like he's been trying to do, just get out. He wants just out of this now. And the more and more people he keeps killing and the more and more people they keep sending, they keep raising the bounty on his head. It gets to ridiculous numbers in this movie.
Yeah, the table, they're the head of this continental group. Like they just want him dead, and he's trying to get out and just be a free man.
And so he's doing everything he can to just get out. And Lawrence Fishburne's character, Bowery King, he is helping him out a lot in this movie. He even kind of uses Winston in a couple different scenarios, which Winston, right off the bat, when we first get introductions to the Marquis, Bill Skarsgård's character, he brings in Winston and Karen to a meeting with them and talks about all of the problems with the Continental and how he's taking over the Continental and actually shoots and kills Karen.
Oof. Yeah, and then he blows up Winston's hotel right in front of him. Like they look out the window and blow it up, and so he no longer is the head of his section of it.
Then we get Bill Skarsgård really just saying like, I'm going to be the one person who gets John Wick killed. I'm going to send all the best people about it, and then pulls Kane into the story.
Yeah, and Kane is honestly, he's in the same boat as John Wick. He is a character that he just wants to get out of this job and live his free life and be with his daughter, take care of his daughter. And he just keeps getting pulled back in.
Yeah, and they're threatening to kill his daughter if he doesn't go after John Wick, which he was old friends with John Wick, so he doesn't want to, and he's got nothing against him, but he's kind of getting his hand forced. And yeah, it's all just really messy stuff. And, you know, all the table are all really shitty people and really do anything to use and manipulate people to the best of their abilities. And they're all really good at it.
I mean, the name of the game is making money using people to kill other people. So, I mean,
yep. You have to be kind of sketchy.
Yeah, no one's a person. An assassin is expendable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess at that point, John Wick goes to the hotel in Japan to meet
Yep.
with Shimazu.
Shimazu's daughter Akira, which we said was Rina Sawama, she doesn't want John Wick to be there at all and doesn't want her dad helping John Wick at all and doesn't know he's there at first. But he's really good friends with Shimazu, so Shimazu definitely took him in and has been kind of helping him out and protecting him and giving him a safe place to stay. And he's even like telling his daughter, like, don't worry about it. Like, yes, this puts us in danger, but it's for someone who's done more for me than anybody else has. And you have to understand that I have to help this man. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I have to. He's everything. And he would do this for me. So I have to do it for him.
Yeah, I like the amount of like trust and respect between the two of them. Like, you help you, I'm going to help me.
Oh, the amount of honor.
Then all of the Marquis group of assassins show up and start taking down the place. It's quite an insane fight scene there. Like
Oh, yeah. It starts out so crazily.
you think you've seen it all in a John Wick movie, and then no, there's more. And it's just he's so creative with all the environments, and every action scene has like these fun angles and just the uses of the surroundings. Like it's fun watching them take advantage.
Well, and I even just love the start of that scene because the Marquis assassins come in and he tells his daughter, like, hey, discreetly start getting people out of the hotel. And then he gets all of his people to gather up on the top floor or the balcony area with bows. So they're all sitting there with samurai swords and bows. And these are some freaking crazy armor piercing bows. Like, these are some of the best bow scenes I've seen in any movie, period. Like, it is insane.
Every time the arrow impacts someone, like you can feel the impact. Like when you see someone get hit, you're like, oh. And I mean, all these soldiers are armored, and then I still find it a little ridiculous that there's like bulletproof suits, like their suit and ties are bulletproof. I still find that a little ridiculous. It's cool, but
It's real.
no, I know. I've seen
It's so stupid.
there's a channel called, I think they're called the Hacksmith. Check them out. They make a lot of cool inventions, but they remade the suits to check if it's possible, and it is for some rounds. A lot of high piercing rounds, it's not going to work on, but
Yeah. Well, and I even saw a thing because I watch a bunch of like the movie theories and stuff like that, and I saw something for the Batman where they were wondering if like because he takes that shotgun blast like point blank, and with his armor plating, he just brushes it off like. It makes him fall backwards, but he doesn't take any damage. And they're like, that can't be real. And apparently it completely is. Like most of the time we think Kevlar is like the highest rating of armor for guns, but it's actually only a armor rating 2.1. And we have all the way up to armor 4.5. That's only half. Kevlar's only half as good as the best shit. Like, that's insane to me.
but yeah, you were going to talk about one of the cool bow shots.
Yeah. So one of the ones that stuck out to me the most, this guy goes up for like a flying knee kick or something, and he gets shot right in the knee, and it pierces him to the wall, and you just see him like dangling there with his knee up in the air, and it's insane how powerful that those bow shots were. And just like some of those things were just so cool, and the way they use the bow, especially Akira in this scene, the way she like used the bow and even like used the bow as a weapon itself, like not even with arrows, just hitting them with the bow.
Yeah, like as a melee weapon. Yeah, pretty sweet scene. And I guess towards the end, John is able to escape because Shimazu helps him out to get out, but it ends up costing him his life.
Yeah. One of the other scenes I really love in this is we get to see Donnie Yen's first like real fight scene here. Mm-hmm. And the coolest thing is he runs away from all these enemies, and he runs into this kitchen area, and he's got his walking stick, so he's like being able to see where things are, and he puts down all these motion sensors with alarms all over this room at different heights and stuff. So as soon as he hears ding, he knows a person's right there, and he can hit them with his cane, and it's just so perfect. I had never seen blind fighting as good as this blind fight scenes were, but like him using audio clues like that and him having those things on him was such a unique feature that was so well thought out that I had to mention it. I was like, that is just perfect.
It's really cool watching his reaction, like as a blind man. You can, to audio cues, like hit the way he tilts his head when he hears something in a certain direction, or but I found it super awesome and also kind of funny that like when you picture like a blind kung fu fighter with a cane, it's like almost very predictable that the cane is actually a sword in disguise, which ends up being the case. When that happened, I was like, sweet. But
but you did what every other movie does.
every blind character has a hidden sword as their cane.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I know. I mean, I'm gonna get a cane sword. Come on. The scene where John Wick escapes and we get this awesome duel between Kane and Shimazu, and it's just it is brutal. Just the sword swipes and how fast they are. It's like it's definitely an anime fight where like they swipe and then suddenly after a second the wound appears,
and one person's lying on the ground, the other person's standing there, and blood dripping on the sword. It's so anime. You're so right with that. Like, it's so perfect.
It's awesome.
The action choreography in this movie, I'm going to say it so much. Choreography is my word of the day. So ridiculous, just how beautiful it is. And seriously, like everything, like I didn't believe that they were going to have this much swordplay and bows and arrows in this one, because they kept on going more and more with guns. And the last one was basically all guns, and then like the addition of the dogs, but them adding a lot more swordplay and like the blind fighters and the bows and arrows. I was like, yes, this is what you need to do.
Pretty sweet. But I guess this is where I wouldn't mind seeing a spinoff with Kane and like Akira hunting him down, because it's at this scene where Akira is like, Kane killed my father, I want to hunt him down. And I mean, there's even a callback to it in the mid-credit scene later that we'll talk about, but it'd be cool to see a spinoff like that.
Oh, 100%. What is directly after that one? I'm trying to
this movie
think.
kind of all blends together for a while because it's one long action scene.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I know we're not towards the end yet, but in a way, like we're already halfway through the movie, even though we're talking about like the first and second scenes here. Because I mean, this fight in the Japanese hotel, I mean, it takes a good like 45 minutes to an hour. Like it's a chunk of the movie.
I know kind of after that, we kind of get more of the stuff with the Marquis sending more and more people after John Wick, and Winston actually gets a hold of John Wick. I think this is kind of what happens next, where Winston tells Wick that Karen was killed, and they're actually like meeting at his gravestone.
Yeah.
And Winston's like, hey, I think I found a way for you to possibly get out and for me to do things the way I want to do things too, and kind of get revenge on this asshole who killed Karen, because Karen didn't need to die. He was the most amazing man, way better than any man, way better than me, way better than you. And they both kind of like looked agreed to that.
Yeah, Winston sets up John Wick on his next side quest. This whole movie kind of feels like a video game, but
it does.
So he tells John Wick that there is a way to get his freedom out of it, but in order to do it, he needs to, one, be able to get a duel set up with the Marquis. But first, in order to do that, he has to reinstate as a family member of one of the assassin groups within the Continental Group itself. So John ends up going to these other people to be a part of their family of the assassin group. But in order to do that, he gets another side quest to go murder someone that wronged that assassin group. So it's kind of convoluted, but it's very video gamey.
Oh yeah, no, it 100% is. Like, that's also a thing that I full-heartedly, and they even took some inspiration from video game scenes. We'll talk to you about some of those later. He goes back to his Russian family that originally took him in. And I think that's the family that took him. And then he gets that quest to kill that guy, and they get that kind of poker game where the guy rigged it so he would win, and he was going to kill Kane and Wick and Tracker.
Yeah.
And that guy who played him, he was such a monster of a dude. Like, he seemed like a video game mini boss, or like a video game boss.
So that character's name is Killa, and he's actually the actor that played him, Scott Adkins, he's an MMA fighter.
Oh, okay.
So they had him in a fat suit doing like MMA fighting moves. It was super cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like that fat suit just reminded me so much of like those old school like brawler games, like Def Jam Fight for New York, with like having some of like the big rappers like Biggie and stuff being there. Like he just was this monster, like big chunky dude, and you could just like see how hefty he was in his punches and stuff. I was expecting John Wick to be able to kill him pretty quickly, but having to have him chased down throughout this entire nightclub scene was actually like really cool and really crazy and really brutal. Like the fight with them was just so gut crunching and stuff. Like so many times I was like, oh my god, it's one of you guys is definitely gonna die here.
Yeah. And I guess he did like some kickboxing and stuff, so maybe it wasn't
Okay.
but I mean he's a professional fighter, so it was kind of cool seeing that, and you just don't expect it. I saw an interview somewhere where people didn't even, I guess, recognize it was him at first because they did so well with the makeup of the fat suit.
They really did. I actually thought that guy was just that big, honestly. I felt weird that he was that big, but at the same point I was like, man, that looks real.
Yeah, the makeup for the movie the artist did a really great job with his character. Yeah, so he gets through like this fight scene. I found that fight scene a little ridiculous in this nightclub when he fought Killa.
A little bit.
Because I mean, I don't care who or where you are. If there are people fist fighting and shooting guns at each other in the middle of a crowd that are dancing in a rave, they're going to react. But there were people kind of just, they danced through it as these two are fighting through them. It just felt ridiculous.
So part of me for that, because I was kind of trying to talk with Jen about that stuff. And one of the things is, if it is another like kind of like hotel scenario and everyone there's assassins, then they're just butting out of it and they're like, who cares? Like one of them's going to kill each other.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'd be against the rules for them to intervene. But also, if it is just like a regular nightclub, a lot of those people might be on like drugs and stuff and just are so oblivious to everything. The music's so loud, they're just dancing. They're just focusing on the hot girl in front of them. They're not actually focusing on anything else. Like I get that it seems a little ridiculous, but I feel like there is some possible explanations for some of it. But I do think there should be more reactions in some of these scenes. Like I think in the bathhouse scene in the first one, there was a lot of people running away and screaming and stuff, and that felt a lot more real than this one did.
Well, I mean, you even see some of these people, like their only reaction is they kind of look over and see them fighting to the death, and they kind of shrug it off, like, let's just keep dancing. So I don't know. It was bizarre. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's just.
You're right. It is one of those things that I would typically point out.
But yeah, so I guess after that scene, so he got sent there and he had to bring proof back to the Russian family that he killed him. So he ends up ripping out his gold teeth.
Yep.
Yeah, then he gets reinducted into the family and he gets like these brands burnt on his arms, which made me kind of shift in my seat because they have like this, I don't know, giant metal pot that's like so hot. They're just putting their arms on it and singeing, burning their skin, and just no, I wouldn't be that dedicated.
That looked and felt so real too, because a lot of times when you get branding scenes in movies and stuff, you get like the quick like burn effect and then they like just pull away. They actually had to rip their arm off of these pots because of how much it stuck to it with it being so hot for so long. Like you actually see them like actually like struggle to get it off at first and have to rip their arm off. And it's that small attention to detail in these things that I'm like, ouch. That felt so real.
They like their brands well done and not rare.
Yeah.
So
it's got to stay for a long time.
But yeah, so he's back in the family now, and then we proceed towards the end of the movie, which I know it kind of feels like we're both moving fast and slow getting to the end of the movie, but a lot of these scenes they're very long scenes. So I mean, there's only like 6 scenes in the movie, but they're all long fight scenes.
So yeah, he does end up getting his duel with the Marquis, and he has a sit-down meeting with them, which they do this really cool like game of high card, low card to pick who gets to pick the certain parameters for the duel. So like first thing it would be like location, or no, it was time. It was time, and they both had a bunch of cards in front of them. They flipped it over. Whoever had the highest card picked the time that they wanted it to be at. and then it was location. Whoever draw the highest card picked the location, and then weapons
Mhm.
and like stuff like that. And so it became this thing where it was going to be dueling pistols at sunrise the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
And we get the most video game action scene of all time after this, which was done after a video game. A lot of people thought they were trying to reenact Hotline Miami. It very much feels like Hotline Miami. It's that over-the-top visual style, going through and blasting through enemies.
Yeah, the camera looking straight down.
With synthwave music playing throughout the entire thing, which was just so amazing. The best kind of music for these action scenes.
The game that it actually was based on was Hong Kong Massacre.
And we get to see, and this is something that is real, these dragon's breath ammunition from these shotguns that literally shoots like incendiary rounds that kind of look like a dragon's fire breath when you shoot it out of the muzzle. It is insane, this entire scene. It's like 5-6 minutes long of him going through this entire building, just blasting through people, and it is so amazing.
Yeah, basically throughout, this is during the night before the duel that is at dawn. I guess the Marquis decides to put this huge bounty out for John Wick because he's trying to get him killed before he actually has to participate in the duel, So throughout the night, everyone's trying to kill him. And this Dragon's Breath scene is so creative and beautifully shot. And I think one thing I love about it is throughout the movie, the tracker is also hunting down John Wick, trying to get money so he can do his own, he has his own reasons for doing things. But he's this really skilled assassin, and he has this like assassin dog that helps him, and he has these cool commands that the dogs can fight. And one thing I love about this Dragon's Breath scene is John Wick and the tracker are fighting, and then one of the Marquis assassins comes to try to kill John Wick too, and the tracker's dog intervenes and is fighting that assassin. Well, that assassin ends up getting the dog downed, and he's about to go kill the dog, and John Wick has the tracker pinned down with his gun, and John Wick's about to shoot the tracker, but then he sees the Marquis assassin about to shoot the dog, and he decides, nope, kills the assassin and saves the dog instead of killing the tracker. I just really liked that scene, and
well, and you even saw that in the tracker's face, like, oh my god, maybe I shouldn't kill John Wick. Like, he just saved my dog.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I guess the tracker found like a newfound respect for John Wick, and I think he respected him in the first place, but he needed the money.
Well, and that was the thing that I loved throughout this entire movie too, because with his character, he's kind of playing this double angle where if the Marquis is not offering enough money to him, he's not helping him kill John Wick, and he's actually helping John Wick out. He's killing all these other assassins and like, fine, I'll just kill these other guys and make you raise your price. And then once all of his other assassins fail, he gives them a call again, like, fine, 14 million. Well, it's 20 million now.
Yeah. And it's really cool. And I guess, so from the Dragon Breath scene, we move into one of the most ridiculous fight scenes, and it's in, I forget what it's called. I think it's in London, but it's somewhere in Europe where there's that giant roundabout that has like 20 lanes or whatever. I don't remember how many lanes, but just all those cars. And John Wick gets in this cool car fight scene and ends up in that roundabout and fighting people while also getting hit by cars and throwing people into cars. I mean, this guy takes a beating for being... like, he's supposed to be the deadliest assassin there is. He's constantly getting pushed to his limits. But
100%.
This is another one of those ridiculous scenes where I'm like, okay, how many? I started counting how many cars is he going to get hit by before he dies. It was ridiculous.
Well, and there's some ridiculous scenes. I remember like one of the ones that we both reacted to the most was he kind of like kicked some guys back and like moved out of the way, and then they got hit by this car, and mid-air shoots them both in the head as they're flipping from the car hitting them. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy's talent level? Like, holy shit. Like, this is incredible.
I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if, fan theory becomes truth. Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves in this. This is probably, like, John Wick is just a scenario in The Matrix. It's gotta be.
Yeah. It's possible for sure. Yeah, it just gets so ridiculous with all these scenes, and you're just like sitting there and you're just like, he's taking the beatings. And even he was saying like during the filming of this movie that he really got pushed to his limit. And he had so many like, and I wouldn't say like arguments or anything with the director, but especially during the staircase scene where we're gonna get clipped to pretty soon, he kept on looking up at the director like, we got to do more.
Yeah.
I'm tired of falling down these stairs.
Yeah, after the car scene, he finally makes it to the final staircase to get to the summit where they're having the duel. And it's a really famous staircase. It has like 200 and something stairs on it. I don't remember what it's called. The fight choreography is so cool in this stair fight scene, but at the same time, I wonder like how many stairs is this guy like gonna fall down? John Wick makes it halfway up, falls all the way back down to the bottom. Makes it 3/4 of the way up, falls all the way back down to the bottom. He keeps getting kicked and he just rolls all the way down. I'm like, man, this guy can
Well,
take
it's
a
such a
beating.
steep staircase that pretty much if you start falling, you're going to fall most of the way down unless you're able to catch yourself on the rails or something. He's fighting more and more assassins, and the bounty gets up to like 25 million. So that everyone's trying to kill him at this point. So there's hundreds of people trying to kill him. And he then Donnie Yen's character wants him to be able to still make it to the duel. So he starts helping him out, and then the tracker comes in and he starts helping him too. And then the tracker actually at one point gets another call and he's fine. I'll give you 25 million. You kill John Wick, and he's got his aim on John Wick, and he's about ready to. But then the dog looks over at him like, no, don't. He saved my life, asshole. And the way they shot that dog looking at him, it almost sounded like exactly like that. Like if we heard the dog's thought right now, it'd be like, no, he saved me. What are you doing? And the guy looks at his dog, is like, yeah, I can't. And then shoots the other guy instead.
Well, I know Kane is really helping John Wick up there because the Marquis ended up weaseling his way out of the duel and getting it so that Kane is forced to participate in this gun duel with John Wick instead of the Marquis. So he, kind of cheated.
Yeah.
But, so Kane's like, I'm going to help you make it to that summit so we can have a proper duel. It's really cool.
Oh, and I guess we did forget to say the stakes of this were that if John wins, he's out of this life forever. He'd never, like, the entire table has to disregard his existence. He's no longer a threat. He's no longer able to be a target for assassination. He's just done.
Yeah,
completely.
He gets his freedom, and then Winston gets reinstated to his hotel of the Continental.
And gets his Continental rebuilt. And yeah, Winston threw in that extra stuff because, Winston always has to have an angle. He always has to be on top.
Yeah. So, and they finally make it up, and he makes it just in time, like barely limping his way in. He and Kane holding each other up, walking up.
Yeah, so we get the scene, and they have to first start 30 paces away from each other, single fire. They each take a shot. And then if they don't die, they move 10 paces forward and take another shot, and then another 10 paces, and then take a shot until one of them's dead. And that's the way the duel is supposed to go down. They only get one bullet at a time. It's a one bullet gun chamber. It's a very old school dueling pistol style guns, which those were really cool looking guns, honestly.
Yeah, beautiful.
They both keep shooting each other and walking forward, shooting each other, walking forward. And then on the one where they're only 10 paces away, Donnie Yen shoots Wick, and he's lying on the floor because he got shot in the stomach. Like, he's bleeding bad. The Marquis gets so excited, like, oh, we won the duel. He's gonna die. We won the duel. He's gonna do this. I'm gonna take up the gun, and I'm gonna shoot the last shot at him. And then the Marquis didn't realize John Wick never shot his shot. So he then gets to shoot the Marquis because he stepped into the duel circle, which got to kill one of the people on the table and got his freedom.
So good. And yeah, I guess the movie ends with him getting his freedom, and then John Wick walks down the stairs a little and then sits down and presumably dies.
I think the director did say afterwards that he is dead.
I think I saw an interview with Keanu Reeves and the director, and the director said John Wick is dead until we decide we want to make a sequel. So he's in canon. John Wick is officially dead. If they ever make a sequel, they might find a way to bring him back, but I don't think they'd be able to at this point.
I don't think so either.
They really put it there like, nah, he's dead.
I kind of hope this is the final one, honestly, because I don't know where you go from here besides just taking out the entire table in the next one. Like,
well, I mean, at this point, John Wick has no reason to. He got his freedom.
Exactly.
So I understand like spin-offs and stuff, but they don't bring John Wick back, except like you said,
Yeah.
an appearance in the prequel's fine. But one thing that they kind of left ambiguous when Winston is in front of John Wick's, I guess, grave, or no, it's when they're talking. Winston calls John Wick's son, and it's left ambiguous as to like, is Winston actually John Wick's father, or was it just one of those things where it's an older gentleman calling someone a son, like.
Yeah, I didn't even like think about that. Yeah, for me, I thought it was just because like he kind of like views him as a son or
Mhm.
something, but I guess we have no idea who his parents are at all because he was that orphan that got brought into that Russian family.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't really look too much into it, but I saw some interviews where it's purposely left ambiguous to make you kind of think like, is that
Okay.
something that's true or not? And then we do get an end credit scene of Kane watching over his daughter. She's playing violin, and he's walking up to see her, and then in the background, the camera zooms in, and Akira is walking up behind Kane, presumably to kill him and get revenge.
One of the other like big interesting facts I thought was really interesting with this is Keanu Reeves only speaks 380 words throughout this entire movie. This movie is an hour longer than even the first John Wick and is the longest of the series. And it's one of the lowest word counts ever spoken by a main character in a movie.
He said what he said without what he needed to without words.
Though I'm just like, that's how much action is in this movie. The lead character only has less than 400 words in a 3 hour long movie.
It doesn't help. It's kind of funny whenever anyone talks to John Wick. I swear every response he has is between
Yeah.
1 and 3 words long of a response. He rarely ever says a full complete sentence.
Seriously though.
If I could describe this movie in one word, I'd probably say satisfying. It's a satisfying end to a series and an overall movie. Like it's really well done.
This is the perfect way to wrap up a series. I think this is the best way they could have done it. Every time one of these was announced, I was like, what are they going to do now? Like, I thought John Wick was just going to be one movie and be done, especially because I thought that was just like such a crazy scenario. Like, oh, you kill my dog, I kill your entire family and all of the assassins. And then the assassins all going after them. And then the higher assassins going after him. And then the high table going after him. And I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? There's so many twists and turns throughout all these movies, especially at the end of the third one, where I was just barely survives falling off that building. And I'm like, what are you doing after that? So I was like, I was really kind of worried how far they were going to go. And I'm so glad they did this as well as they did. Perfect choreography and perfect action. And I can't say enough how perfect this movie was. Like, this to me is one of the all-time best action movies.
It's really good, and it's a great ending to the series. It definitely, they shouldn't make another John Wick movie. If they want to do their spin-offs and stuff, go ahead and try it out, but they don't need to make John Wick's story any longer.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything about it.
That's John Wick. Again, buy it and watch it.
Definitely.
Reminder that next time we are watching Palm Springs, so go ahead and get on your
Yes.
Hulu account and watch it before we talk about it. We'll see you next time.
Bye.